A leader that has a vision and is working on the vision to make it come to fruition. That's the important thing. A leader can't be stagnant. They have to have a dream. Mine was, this is the best program ever. I say we're not perfect, but we are the best.
Welcome to the Unleashing Leaders podcast, where we work with willing leaders to accelerate the changes you seek. We'll learn from the experiences of different leaders facing real challenges and distill practical, purposeful steps to apply in your context. I'm Lee Scott, your curious co-pilot. Together, let's make positive changes for our companies and communities. Welcome back to the Unleashing Leaders podcast. Today, we are joined by Karen Jean Reed. She is the Program 3 Director at Atascadero for the Department of State Hospitals. And Karen is today going to be sharing quite a bit about her origin story and some different ways of thinking about how we can be there both for our employees and our customers, in her case, as well as ways to maintain your own engagement and motivation in a very difficult and trying times. Karen, it is so great to have you on the show. We have been talking about this for like 10 years.
Thank you.
Karen, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about how you and I first had the chance to meet each other?
Well, you had come to Kalinga State Hospital where I was previously employed, and you were doing one of the sessions. We had a week-long session about leadership training, and you came that last day and presented at the hospital, and everybody thought of all the ones who had presented that you were our best presenter. And so that's how we first met. And then later on, when I went to Sacramento, you were presenting up there. And I also got to know you better, and I like to keep people who have been a positive influence in my life, keep them up to date on what's happening in my life. So throughout the years, I just continued to email you and a couple other presenters and let them know some of the accomplishments that I had obtained after going through your training and making some adjustments on my leadership style. So that's how we met.
It was so rewarding. And, you were already well accomplished, but to see what you've continued to do and the impact you've had both at work and your community has been just remarkable. And yeah, you and I also had a little bit of a special, sad overlapping connection. That night I came down to present to you, I almost didn't get down there because that was the night I lost my mom. And that happened in the evening, and the other trainers had already come back. So I ended up taking care of things up here and then driving all night to get down to you guys. And I was devastated, but I was like, I'm doing it for these nurses. And that's what my mom was. So I channeled her energy and love into that room like there was no tomorrow. And I thought it was the worst day of training I'd ever done, but it turns out it was one of my better ones, apparently. So, and then when you and I met again later, that was right after you had lost your mom. And that's when you found out the same had happened to me. And I think we've been just a spiritual support to each other across the years and across the miles. And so truly it is a treasure to have you on the show here, Karen. You mean the world to me. So thank you.
Yeah, at that second leadership training, you had shared about your mom, and during that time frame, we would go up so many days a month. I lost my mom at the same time, and I thought
Right.
about how you had shared about coming down because we who were in the class had no idea that you had lost your mom, and you presented in such an excellent way. And I thought about how you had presented and how, despite of what the thing that was happening in your life, you were still able to press through. And so that was helpful to me and pressing my way to come to Sacramento and also get my training. But yeah, that was also a very encouraging to me.
Powerful, powerful. Well, listen, I want to hear more about your origin story because you have a remarkable one growing up in Arkansas and the things you studied and the breakthroughs you made. Uh, for those of you who are hearing this on the audio, Karen is a very, very young, recent college grad, just entering the workplace. And of course, we're joking. Karen, tell us about, where'd you grow up and how long you been playing at this game?
I grew up in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and did all my education there, being in band, being a piano player, starting to play for churches at the age of 13. And then when I came time to go to college, my brother was in Minnesota. He was in law school and he encouraged me to go to the University of Minnesota. So I put my application in, went on up there, was studying music there. And I also learned about music therapy, and it was occurring at a college that was on the West Bank. Augsburg College is now called Augsburg University. And so I did complete my music program at the University of Minnesota and then also my music degree in music therapy um, from Augsburg University. And then later on went on to get my doctorate, deg- not doctorate, my master's. While I had completed my music therapy internship in Vienna, Virginia. I learned about the master's program in California, so I came out to California to get my master's. And it was first one was psychology with a concentration in music therapy, and the second one was clinical psychology, both at Antioch University. And then I did 4 years toward the doctorate through Walden University in clinical psychology. So many years of studying, a lot of things.
Yeah, lots of studying, lots of learning, lots of just preparing for the depth of skills that you were gonna unleash on the world. And then, you in the early 1990s, you were working in a psychiatric hospital setting. Tell us a little about your early career days, and then we'll swing into what lit the spark for you to go into management. But tell us about early on. What were you noticing and what trends were jumping out at you?
So when I did my internship in Vienna, Virginia, I started working with emotionally disturbed high school kids, and that put me in a different arena than I had planned to go in. And
Mm.
so then in 1990, I was hired at Atascadero State Hospital as a music therapist, and I began to do a lot of different programs with music therapy, with forensic psychiatric patients, with meaning that they are um, patients with a criminal background, but also have a mental illness. So,
It does not get more complex in behavioral health than that, right? I mean, you got all the things going on there.
yeah, each person has a different personality, but what I found was that music can touch people in special ways, and
That's right.
it can reach those who are having mental issues, and you can find the right thing to be a positive benefit to the patients. So I started the gospel choir as a request for one of the patients kept asking for it. Even though that's one of my arenas, I never really thought about doing it, but he had the chaplain come and ask me about it, and that was in 1990, and I did it. Um, it's been 34 years that's been going on between the 2 hospitals that, and we did just a concert on Monday here at the hospital, and it was really packed with a lot of patients who came out to see it. But I found that music touches people in ways that, you wouldn't imagine. It's not measurable, and each one has what I call a key signature, something special to them, some kind of special music to them that can encourage them and encourage their heart. Throughout my working with music with the patients, different ones have said the positive impact that it has had on their life, how it has encouraged them in discouraging times, and how it has shaped their behavior when they have wanted to act out and respond in a way that they had been familiar with, but now the lyrics and were having an impact on them, and they thought about their actions before taking it and had resulted in positive change. And it's been a positive motivator. I had one patient that had in prison hit a window and cut his wrist, and he had given up on life because he thought he couldn't play no more. but he came here to the hospital, and we figured out a way that he could uh, use his hands to play the bass again, and he acknowledged how it was life changing for him. Now he wanted to live, and now he felt that he had purpose. So, what I found that music can reach people that sometimes we think are unreachable, and
Yeah,
can give
'cause
them a
it bypasses all those filters that we've built up and the normal, interactions that we have, and it goes, like, straight to the I'm sure you know better than I do, it goes straight to that part of the brain, whether it's the brainstem or the subconscious, or I personally think it's the soul, that's my take on it. Uh,
Mhm.
but I like how you say, like, we all like different forms of music, and we may not react the same way to the same music, but all of us will have some kind of music that we will have a reaction, and it shows up whether we're starting to tap our feet or we're kind of humming along or we're swinging our head, and it reaches us, like you said, in ways that inspires and elevates, and can reawaken a part of us that maybe had been dormant for a while. Why do you think that is, Karen? What is it? And not just for, uh, psychiatric patients like you're working with, but even employees, even yourself. I mean, it's like mainstreaming liquid love into your soul when you listen to a good song.
Why, I just think that it has the power to reach parts of us that sometimes we try and lock off or we try and seclude. But like you said, when music is playing, people will start tapping their feet or moving in motion, not really thinking about it. But it has that effect on the brain and the emotions, and it just has a way of breaking down barriers that that are challenging for people. But you don't know that. Oh, I'm
Well,
tapping my
you
foot. I'm tapping my foot
I'm
to
at my
something.
foot. Yeah. Well, and you shared an example with me, of a patient who wanted to tap another patient, and instead of reaching out in an aggressive fashion, had a pattern interrupt. Tell us a little bit about that example.
Well, I had a patient that shared that he was in a gospel group too, and he said that a patient had got on his nerves, and he was ready to respond physically like his regular response would be. But he said the lyrics came to his mind, and instead of acting the way he normally had, he was able to grasp the meaning of those lyrics and prevent himself from becoming physically assaultive to another person. So what I found was that the lyrics still had a effect on guys. Sometimes we're just thinking we're singing something, and that's it. But what I found was that they shared that even after group, even on their units, what we had studied in the group was having an impact on them. And so
Yeah.
we don't.
Unbelievable. And you've been doing music since you were 6 years old, and, I've got a great picture we're gonna put in the marketing kit of you on a saxophone. You are just rocking it. But tell us a little about some of the really cool events that you've done. I think these are just remarkable, and, if you don't mind sharing a little bit of a humble brag, about the International Women's Conference and some of the other events and venues that you've been able to really share, both your talent and this message.
Well, when I was growing up, we had a group that's called Sunshine Band in our denomination, and that's for little kids. And so they train us up in a very young age to participate in church by singing and just participating in many different areas. So we had the opportunity to travel from a young age to the state convocation on up to the national convocation. And so I I play saxophone. I'm a gospel saxophonist, and the one of the convocations, women's conventions that I played in where Bill Clinton attended, and so I have articles written about that, playing for president, and then most recently I played in Orlando, Florida, for we have another group called Purity Class, and that's for teenagers. And so they were singing and presenting, and I was on stage playing saxophone and got a picture snapped of that that was posted in one of their handouts that they gave. But I've been playing sax since age 13. I had cancer when I was a little kid. And so at the age of 13, my older sister had played saxophone. She was in college and she was no longer in band. I asked her for the saxophone and she gave me that saxophone, and right after the surgery, I had had 3 surgeries, cobalt treatment, and, she gave me the saxophone. I started playing. Me and a couple other friends, we began playing, at different meetings and things at the churches, formed a community choir, was part of a community choir that was formed, and, um, I've been playing sax since age 13, played at the University of Minnesota, Augsburg College, play wherever I go, at the different conferences, so.
Well, it's just amazing the breadth of talents that you bring, Karen. So I was wondering if maybe we could swing into your transition into management, because here you are, you're a musician, you're a therapist, you're a hard worker. You have overcome, challenges, personal health, the like. And then something, you noticed something in the early 2000s about a pattern where, you only heard from a leader when you did something wrong, and then you were like, I want to change that music. I want to write a different song. And then you decided to step into a leadership role when that wasn't as common for someone with your background at the time. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, at the time, if you wanted to be in upper management, you had to interview and be put on this list for consideration. When I saw here was when I first started at the hospital, there was affirmative action, and I think about a year or 2 after I started, that was voted out in California, and so, I had worked here, but there were not many people of color that were, in higher positions here at the hospital, and I felt it was important that the people of color see somebody in management. And rather than waiting for somebody else to do it, that's when I started looking for it,
Yep.
because I felt it important to make a difference. And I also felt it was important that leaders give recognition to their staff and not just wait till bad things happen or things are not to what it should be. Just hear about the negative, but none of the positive. And I felt that it was important that um, be different. And so that's was it motivated me to pursue management because I did think that we should be able to see a person of color, and I also wanted to change the atmosphere and making it more about enabling the person to do their work, but also recognizing the positives of their job. So that
Yeah.
was a motivating factor of pursuing. It took me a long time, but finally, uh, in 2007, I got a couple of acting roles as in management, and then became permanent, and then went up pretty quickly once I got in. So.
Yeah, once you light that wick, man, you're gonna go. Well, that has been a great transition for you, and certainly a welcome one by a lot of your teammates. Having that positivity, because we all say we work in challenging circumstances, but I can legitimately vouch, Karen, having been, in Atascadero, at Coalinga, at some of these other locations. These are among the most challenging workplace contexts you could imagine, and it's meaningful, fulfilling work. There are great people there. It is, you see remarkable results, which are incredibly rewarding, fulfilling. So I don't mean to paint it as an all dark cloud. It truly is phenomenal. I've loved having the chance to work with you guys. But in that context, you can get beat down, and then you start beating other people down, and then you're just taking everything down versus saying like, hey, wait a second, there is goodness here. It's all around us. We've just got to remind ourselves of it and uplift and focus on it. And you've done
Yeah.
that in a variety of ways.
Mhm. I think when you're working with a very challenging population, you have to get some enjoyment out of your job and
Yep.
out of the people that you're working with. And it also gives you a boost when your work with the patients see progress, a positive too. Some don't progress at the rate that we would like, or either don't change, totally as you would hope, but you can make a positive difference. And I think having a workplace where you like to come to work, and and even though it's challenging, you enjoy doing it, that really makes the difference. And so that's what I endeavor to do. So,
Yeah, what are some of the ways you do that? You've got an array of things that I think a lot of folks would say, like, yeah, does that stuff really work? But like you do it and you see the results of it. So what are some of those practical, everyday things that you do to shine a light on your team?
okay. Well, when I returned back here to Atascadero, I one of the things I took up was program 3 is the best program ever. And so
I love that motto.
everything I write has, at the bottom, program 3 is the best program ever. We have posters up throughout the program that say that, and what I started doing was giving special recognition to the various disciplines. Like, if it's like last month was social work month, so we had a potluck for social work. At times, I've given out certificates so that they have something visual that they can look at to see that they are appreciated. Last month, we also gave the level of care, which is the psych techs and nursing, bags of candy with a flashlight, just to say, "Here, we appreciate the work that you're doing." At different times, like for our Nurses Month, I've given out T-shirts to my management that are in the nursing area. And so it's just giving things, um, for like, Valentine's Day, the hearts that was rehabilitation therapy month, which are music, dance, art, recreation, giving them a heart of candy to say, "Hey, we appreciate the things that you do." But it's and also giving out sending emails to let them know, some weekly emails, constantly just saying, "Thank you for what you're doing. You're very much appreciated." So
Yeah.
it's
And you're
durable.
always really you're really specific with those too, which is one of the things I love. It's not just a generic, it is, hey, this is what you're doing for us, and this is what we appreciate. And all of these are tangible and accessible. But I think for some leaders, we block ourselves and like going, yeah, but that's not really going to do anything. That's just people are going to be annoyed by that. And I think you are a living example of how, yeah, if you only do it once in a blue moon and expect a miracle, well, then that's not authentic. But if you are relentlessly doing it and you find every excuse to do it, right? It could be like, oh, look, there was a dark cloud crossed over a snail in the middle of the road. It's now an award for this, right? Like you find ways to acknowledge and celebrate in creative ways. And what I think people appreciate is the effort, right? It's like you're putting an intention on there. They're not looking at that t-shirt and saying, "Oh my gosh, that was worth $5. Now I'm rich." They're looking at the love and the intention that is meant by it.
And the potlucks make a difference too. They get to
Oh
come
yeah.
socialize among themselves,
Will work for food.
and they, take it back. If everybody can't come, they take enough back for everybody else. And, I see last year I gave over 200 certificates, frame certificates. I thought it was important that they be in a frame, and,
Okay, you got to where is your source for frames?
well, it's either Walmart or Michael's,
Okay, okay.
those
Yeah,
2.
Michael's got the good ones, so that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Uh-huh. So,
Yeah, that is a very nice touch. I have gotten 2 framed things, from 2 very close buddies of mine, and they are cherished artifacts. One's on my wall here, and the other one's on this shelf over there. So yeah, it's amazing how that just elevates, the wrapping. Uh, well, tell us a little bit more about your community work. You've been also a leader in your community and your church. Uh, what are some of the things that you found that are making a positive impact in that environment?
well, I was raised in Church of God in Christ. Our denomination has over 7 million people worldwide.
That's
And
stunning.
I am a part of Southern California First Jurisdiction, and that's one of the biggest that is the biggest jurisdiction in the Church of God in Christ. I have been in leadership roles since I think my 20s, but I have served as I'm right now called district missionary designee, and I am over the women department of the churches in my area, Santa Maria district. But I've worked with the youth, I've worked with foster care, and a lot of the kids that I raised have had in the choir, that grew up in the choir, and we travel a lot, but a lot were from single family homes or either foster care homes. It wasn't not a lot from married homes. And so training them to sing and to be in front of people, and we would travel to state meetings and sometimes international meetings where they got to perform with other youth, um, and singing and presenting plays. That's one area. I do a lot of teaching. I do Zoom meetings. I do at conferences. I go and get information and bring back to the churches that are in my district. And I did serve at the regional level for a good while. So um, dealing with people from that level. Also, in our area, we did have different ones with scholarships, presenting scholarships,
For
local
scholarships for what?
for kids to go on to
Okay, college. All right.
college or vocational. So we've had different involvement with different organizations that present scholarships. Even our denomination, we present so many scholarships at the Women's Convention each year for my jurisdiction. And if they put in an application, they are eligible to do that. This training, the purpose is to train the youth in the way that they should go, so when they get old, they won't forget what they have learned. And so, no matter what background that they come from, I always think about Ephesians 3:20. Now unto him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think. Sometimes we want to put limits on people because of their background or where they came from.
Mhm.
That's both in the work environment and in the community environment. But I believe strongly in God, and I believe that He can do things that are immeasurable to, what we try to put limits on, and we try to put people in certain categories. But the goal is to encourage the people that I work with, both inside and outside, that they can go above and beyond what people think and what they sometimes think themselves. If people are trying to promote, I say, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah.
Don't be hindered by what somebody else says, or don't be hindered by, you know, keep going, keep it, and your time will come.
Well, and that's those darn pesky limiting beliefs, right? It's like, we stop ourselves, more so than almost any other factor around us. And, that's why I love that, exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that work within us. It's not outside of us. It's already in there. And, Karen, that's part of where that unleashing dimension of unleashing leaders comes from, is that the power is there, the
Mhm.
great love, the energy, it's right there. It is accessible to you, within you. You just got to let it out. But those limiting beliefs can be really, really boogers. What's something that you do to sustain yourself? Because this is, I mean, I'm just getting tired listening to you, right? Like you are everywhere. And I'm like, how do you sustain and let the power within you continue to flow out? Because you're human. I'm human. You know, we got them. We got limiting beliefs too. What's
Mhm.
something that has gotten in your way and how have you overcome that?
I believe that no matter what circumstances I experience, I'm prepared to push beyond it. I'm gonna share that, I had went home, I think it was last year. It's been a year, a little over a year, and when I got ready to leave, I was, I always go to Arkansas to visit my sister, and the day I got ready to leave, her daughter killed herself.
Oh,
It was something to be able to persevere in the midst of the unexpected, um, to be able to be a light and an encouragement to everybody, the whole family, because this has been an ongoing, impacting, life-changing experience that none of us would have ever imagined that we would experience. But I believe that my faith in God and my ability to persevere no matter what and to hold on to faith and to stay strong, um, not denying that I'm human.
yeah, yeah.
And
We can
I
grieve.
feel
We can be
things.
mad. We can be sad.
uh, Yeah. But it has that was one of an experience that none of us ever thought we would have. And it has been life changing for the whole family. And it was also life changing for the community. And so, being able to still be a resource to those who are experiencing that loss and holding on and see what we can do to make change for other people, to let
Yeah.
them know that, sometimes people have these different beliefs that prevent them from seeing what is actually going on in front of their eyes. But being able to work to open people's eyes that this is a part of our community too.
Mhm.
Some people think, "Oh no, no, that doesn't happen among us," but that's not a correct view.
We're all susceptible to it, and that limiting belief can start to trap you, and then, there's this thing I learned, from Tony Robbins where it's like we start to set the values in our life, and we make rules about them, so
Mhm.
that in order to achieve the things we value, we make them impossible to achieve by having all of these, "I gotta do this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and all these conditions have to be true for me to access that." But then when we look at the things we don't value, we connect those with "ors." Right? If this happens, or this happens, or this happens, and so now any one of those triggers the thing we don't value. So we make the things we want and value hard to get. We make the things we don't super falling off the log easy, and these rules trap us, and then you can't ever escape that sand trap. And the trick is to flip that around and be able to make the things that we value like, hey, anytime I'm doing this, this, or this, or this, and connecting with those ors, right? Then I can get back into that positive space. And it takes a lot of things to take me out of the game by having them all be ants. And that's just, but once you get stuck in that sand trap, unless somebody's throwing a line to you and calling your soul to say, come back, they can slip away like that. And it is devastating. Like you said, in any way, it could happen to any one of us.
And the reality, in my book, I had talked about how people close the doors of their mind, but I was looking at it in relationship to those who have mental illness.
Hmm.
But then through this experience, I come to see that even people who are connected with what I call true reality have a way of closing their mind to certain things or events that are happening in their life. And so I found through this experience that some of the things that I wrote in my book about in relationships to the patients who had mental illness, that now I can see that people just going through everyday life have the power to close the doors of their mind and
Yep.
need something that will open their mind to see the reality of the situation that they are facing in their lives. And so we
Well,
continue.
you're a steadfast beacon of light to those people, Karen. And I can only imagine the number of people who, whether they were in your congregation, they were in your program 3, which is the best program ever, as I've heard, and right, your family, think of every one of those moments where you shined a light on them, whether it was that frame certificate, that potluck, that specific word of acknowledgement, just relentless writing it on there. You are not letting any chance that somebody's not going to hear it if it's up to you. So that is just remarkable. And like I said, I really appreciate you sharing this. I think all of us can be inspired by that and say, we can step our games up. You know, if Karen can do it and sustain it this long, by golly, I got no excuse, right?
I think a kind word makes a difference. It brightens a person's day.
It
And
absolutely does.
because you never know what anybody is going through, even when they walk through the doors of work. You don't know what they left at home. You don't know what their experiences is. So a kind word, and it just makes a difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, Karen, this has been delightful. I had one more question for you if you're up for it. It's one that we like to ask all of our guests. So I'll ask it for you, and then I'll give a moment for you to think and collect your thoughts. So don't feel like you got to answer right away. Um, but here's the question. What's one sign of an unleashed leader to you?
A leader that has a vision and is working on the vision to make it come to fruition. I think that's the important thing. A leader can't be stagnant. They have to have a dream. Mine was, this is the best program ever. I say we're not perfect, but we are the best.
Yeah, right. I love that. It's not implied. It's an aspiration to live into. It's not something you take for granted, right? Like you said, we don't think we're perfect. We got room to improve. But if we don't believe in that dream, then why would we ever try? Right. And so you remind them of that dream every day.
And the whole hospital now knows program 3 is the best program ever. And they will say that to me and other members of the program all the time.
They look at you. They just look at you. Well, I think I shared with you before we were chatting that my 6-year-old son is very fond of saying to me, "Dad, you're the best dad ever." Now in my mind, I'm like, I know I'm not the best dad. I could have done this. I could have been more proud. And then he's like, "No, Dad, you're the best dad ever." And hearing you speak, what I think he is saying to me is like, "Dad, I believe in you. I believe in your potential, and I'm calling to you to step up your game and be the best dad ever." So I'm going to take that invitation and see what I can do to live up to that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, right on. Well, thank you again for taking some time out of your incredibly busy and impactful schedule to share your message of goodwill and power and impact to our listeners. Really appreciate you summarizing your early story and how you're able to combine the powers of overcoming cancer, being able to find this amazing talent for music to speak and find ever different ways to reach people's positive souls and their potential and their inspiration. It just really is mind blowing. And thank you also. And you do it to me. Like you keep me in the fight. There have been days I've gotten that email from you, and it might be only once every other year. And you're like, "Hey, this is what I did." And I'm like, "How do you even remember I said that?" Like, I don't remember I said that. And then it got me back in the fight the very next day for the next class or project or proposal that I had to work on. So from at least one of your congregation, my heart says thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I thank you too, because you contributed to my life and helped me get on a different road in my leadership. So I appreciate that also.
It's mutual. That's the best kind of partnership, right?
That's kind.
Thank you for joining us today on the Unleashing Leaders podcast. Subscribe so you don't miss a moment that could be the key to your next breakthrough. Let's stay connected and contribute together by grabbing that @Unleashing Leaders handle on LinkedIn, YouTube, or your favorite network. This is Lee Scott. Keep learning, loving, and leading. Our future and our communities are counting on us.